In June 2021, police were investigating the discovery of a decapitated corpse with its head discarded close by. It had been brought 200 miles from the victim's home in London and dumped in woodland in Salcombe in Devon. 67-year-old Deborah Chong's decapitated body was about to reveal more secrets about her gruesome murder.
Having the head recovered was very important because so far, apart from the obvious decapitation, there was no clear sign of violence that might be a cause of death. Having the complete body means that a pathologist can do a proper post-mortem and look for possible injuries.
Deborah's head was extensively defleshed, but it could still reveal clues and tell us what might have happened to her in her final moments. The skull showed a fracture above the eye socket. Now, the bone here is about 1 centimetre thick, and the fracture of this part of the skull indicates major blunt force trauma associated with the use of a weapon. But no weapon was ever recovered. Would this blow have been enough to kill Deborah before she was decapitated?
The findings from the pathologist lend an investigation to look for somebody with a strong motive, and that's more likely to be someone that's known to the victim than somebody who's not known.
During a search of Deborah's home when she was reported missing, police found Gemma Mitchell's number stored in the mobile she left behind.
Whilst Deborah's disappearance was being investigated by a local missing person unit, officers on that team had conducted inquiries that had led them to contact Mitchell to ask if she knew anything about Deborah's disappearance.
And she does, in fact, reach out to the missing persons inquiry and say that she will come and talk to them about what's happened.
And on the 29th of June, and followed up with an email on the 30th of June, Mitchell had left a message for the officers conducting the missing person investigation to the effect that she knew that Deborah had intended to spend some time away visiting family by the coast.
This was the last time police ever heard from Gemma Mitchell. But while scanning Deborah's mobile, they uncovered a string of texts about her £200,000 loan.
Deborah had sent a text message to Mitchell shortly before her death, indicating that she had changed her mind and she was going to withdraw her offer of financial support for the building work.
Having promised Mitchell that she would give her all this huge amount of money to help with the renovation project, suddenly, out of nowhere, she's saying, no, I'm not going to do it, or you know, she's starting to back out of this scheme that Mitchell thinks is already set.
This had clearly angered Mitchell.
While Mitchell was now on their radar as a suspect with a motive, detectives had been investigating Deborah's last movements.
There would be some priority lines of inquiry that would centre around her home address. It was the last place she was known to be. These lines of inquiry would include the recovery of CCTV, whether that be from shops or restaurants or from people's private doorbells, as well as house-to-house inquiries conducting various visits to different addresses in the locality to establish if anyone had seen or heard anything.
What police found was truly startling.
CCTV cameras around Deborah's home revealed that Mitchell had visited the house on the last day that Deborah was known to be alive.
CCTV evidence showed Mitchell arriving at Deborah's house with a large blue suitcase. suitcase appeared to be quite light and easy to manoeuvre and probably empty when she arrived. Some 4 or 5 hours later, the same CCTV captured Mitchell walking away from the address.
And was seen lugging an extremely heavy suitcase behind her. In fact, she was carrying 2 suitcases, but one was extremely heavy, and it was so heavy she was really struggling to pull it along the street.
Detectives came to one conclusion. It was Deborah Chong's body being carried in that suitcase.
She was wheeling the suitcase around town for at least 2 hours, which shows up on CCTV. Clearly, she was panicking, trying to get a taxi to pick up this suitcase with poor Deborah in it. It's quite an unusual way to carry something out, and shows that she wasn't fazed at all, not fazed by what she intended to do.
Mitchell seemingly went off the radar until 2 weeks later. At 8:42 a.m, police spotted a hire car outside Mitchell's home. Mitchell was then seen loading the heavy suitcase into the boot. Then ANPR traffic cameras tracked her on the motorway heading to Devon.
While she's driving down to Devon, she suffers a blowout on the car, so one of the wheels is very badly damaged, and she's forced to pull into a petrol station to seek help. And it's a very weird, sort of erratic kind of scene where she's sort of knocking over things outside the petrol station shop, and people are sort of looking around and wondering what on earth is going on. And she seems quite sort of dazed and confused, and eventually somebody helps her and a repairman comes round and they get the spare wheel out to change the wheel. And he said, you know, he noticed a weird musty smell in the back of the car, and it was something that he'd never smelt before. It was just a sort of slightly strange thing, and, you know, it makes you wonder if he picked up on something, if he picked up the smell of the body or something. She was told by the repairman that she really shouldn't be driving on this spare wheel for very far. She'd initially said that she wanted to drive to Penzance or Land's End, but she's told, no, that's not a very good idea. So from there, she only drives a very short distance because this is just outside Salcombe. So really, whether Salcombe was her initial destination seems quite unlikely.
More CCTV was recovered, which showed that a grey Volvo hire car that was being used by Mitchell on the 26th of June was captured on CCTV driving along Bennett Road. This is the area immediately next to the deposition site where the body was found the following day.
As the pieces of evidence started falling into place, it was time to confront Mitchell with the proof.
The police moved quite quickly.
Police!
In a late evening raid of Mitchell's home, she was finally arrested.
You Gemma?
They took her into police custody.
All right, Gemma, at this moment, I'm arresting you on suspicion of murder. Okay, you don't have to say anything, but you may have a defence if you want to mention one question, something which you later rely in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence, okay?
They raid her property and seize any items that they thought might be key evidence in the case. In a search of Mitchell's house, police uncovered a whole load of financial documents belonging to Deborah.
Firstly, there was a will that had been written out in Mitchell's favour.
which they examined and discovered was a complete fake. It gave all Deborah's property, pretty much in its entirety, to Mitchell. So that's extremely suspicious in itself, and I think the value of Deborah's home was around about £700,000. So it's a not inconsiderable amount of money that Mitchell could have claimed.
Some other items that were recovered during the search were a phone and a passport that had belonged to Mitchell's next door neighbour, who had passed away in the months prior to this incident. The phone, it was established, had been reactivated and had been used by Mitchell to phone and arrange and order the hire car. And it's believed that the signature on the passport is what had been copied and used as a witness signature on the forged will.
With this news, investigators searched the neighbour's garden. What they uncovered took them aback.
The police found this blue suitcase on top of the neighbour's shed and took that down, examined that.
The large blue suitcase, which they knew had been caught on CCTV cameras. You would imagine, if indeed it had contained the body of Deborah, would be covered in DNA evidence and forensic evidence. But there was very little on it, and there was no usable DNA retrieved from it at all.
It seemed the suitcase had been washed thoroughly, but it still contained forensic secrets.
Inside one of the pockets on the large blue suitcase, the police retrieved a tea towel, and that tea towel appeared to have blood on it. And that was examined and found to contain the DNA from Deborah.